No man is more professional than I. I am a 1% man. I am not above or below any man. I'm training my mind. I'm building my body. I'm connecting to my soul. I'm investing my money. Welcome to the 1% Man Podcast. Let's go. All right, everybody, welcome back to the 1% Man Podcast. I have my good friend here with me, Alex Weber. He's now this list of resume for Alex Weber is pretty amazing. He's an international leadership and peak performance speaker, TEDx speaker, podcast host, American Ninja Warrior, award-winning host and performer, world record holder, a businessman, one of the youngest U.S. lacrosse coach of the year as well. Alex, with a list like that, I mean, I feel like that's the whole episode right there.
I appreciate it, man. It's good to see you. It's good to be here.
True. So I have to say, how does that feel when someone says all that and you know, like that's your resume? Do you ever get like fearful? You ever get excited, or how does it make you feel?
That's an interesting, I don't know if I've ever thought about it. That's an interesting, I think once in a while, like kind of like a memory from those experiences will like flash through. But I think, and I'm sure we're all like this, it's so like eyes forward to the next thing that it's, you know, I do try to really enjoy those moments of them happening. But then it's like, that was yesterday. Let's keep going. You know?
So you don't linger too long. I like it.
Yeah.
So before we dive into today's episode, I really want to ask you a few questions so we can get to know you a little better. We can just kind of, how do you say, set the stage. So to begin, what is your favorite color and why?
You know what, man? I love red. It's like fiery. And also I think, just growing up, my high school, red was like our color. And I had so many like formative memories there. So I'm gonna go with red.
Okay, perfect. I like that. I think high school, everyone has a lot of great memories there, and kind of shapes you and molds you a lot, good or bad.
yeah, good and bad. Yeah.
So Alex, if you had one value that you can share with all men that you hold true to yourself, and you could share with all men, what would it be and why?
I mean, what's popping in my head is just to be honest with yourself and be true to yourself. And I think that a lot of, especially as men, a lot of the negative stuff that ends up happening, whether that's pulling us, fighting other people or ripping them down or overly being competitive with them, is really just stemming from us not really being true to who we are and what we want. So yeah, I would say that.
So I like what you brought up about, overly competitive, right? What we always talk about, like, we want to be competitive in the marketplace, so we want to be competitive in what we're doing. So how do we balance that act of being a competitor, but also like knowing that we can also be in our own lane, doing our own thing?
Yeah, I mean, my mind goes to sports a lot, and why it does is because I think sports make things so clear. Like in life, there's a lot of like gray area, but like sports are like, no, like this is what's happening. And there's like objective proof of it. So, I always like, I think back to like coaching or playing, and you want to win and you want to play your best. You want to do your best, but there is something beautiful where you like tip your hat and you're like, damn, like that was a sick shot. Like that kid ran down the alley, shot off his back foot and pinged the corner. And like, you guys be like, damn, man. Like, so I think when you can still appreciate and still enjoy other people doing their best. So you want to do your best and you want to beat people when they're doing their best. But I think it gets ugly when you either get jealous or you're trying to like tear down other people from doing their best.
I like how you put that. So last question here is, if you had to choose another profession to be an expert in, what would it be and why?
Professional athlete, 100%. I mean, I could do, maybe music. I'll go with, because I am thankful for American Ninja Warrior and that sports are still in my life. Music, I've always wanted it to be more in my life. And I do speaking now. And I'm like, gosh, like I always love some of the artists who have like almost like spoken word like rap or hip hop, or it's in all art forms. But like, I was like, damn, that would be pretty cool too. To just be able to talk about what you're passionate about and then just put like some fire music under it.
Right. A nice beat. And also you get paid to do that too. Share your experiences, share what you like. Who's your favorite artist? I mean, now we're on this topic. I have to just got to know who's your favorite artist.
You know what? Not my favorite, but I just like, I love this dude. And he's a little bit under the radar. His name is Dylan Owen, but and it's also like, I've listened to some of his tracks during really poignant times. For instance, he had this one song, Break Some Ice, that I played to the World Cup of Lacrosse, and I would just loop that thing. So Dylan Owen, yeah.
Love it. Love it. Okay. I'm about to check out Dylan Owen. I don't know who that is whatsoever. So, before we dive in, I do want to say, the biggest reason I had you come on was because I know we met at Tony's house, fitness guru, and we connected because you said something that was so interesting to me. And I usually ask my guests this question, like, hey, why should people listen to you? But the reason why you should listen to Alex today is because Alex decided he wanted to be a speaker. And a lot of times, we were talking about this for the show. A lot of men, we wait to get the expertise. We wait till we have all our ducks in a row. We have all the qualifications and certifications before we start. What pushed you to say, hey, I'm going to be a speaker? And what pushed you to say, you know what, I'm going to go do it? And you jumped out and you did it.
I appreciate that, man. I do. It's, so I am thankful that I ask myself often, what do I want to do with my moments on earth? And then I've been very honest with that answer. So in college, it was, I was supposed to be going finance because I played college lacrosse and that was like the whole thing. But I knew that I wanted to do something different. And so I just shipped out to LA, started doing performing and just kind of went for it. And then similar with coaching, then similar with hosting. And then when it got to speaking, so that, I guess, pursuit of like deciding, all right, I want to become something and then just wholesale going for it. I've done that a few times. And I guess, for anyone listening, first to just demystify, like, whatever you want to do, you are capable of doing it. The commodities are simply the amount of time it takes and what that experience is like becoming it. But if you're down, if you know that, oh, I need to do this, then you're up for the time. You know that it's not going to be overnight, but you're down for the journey of it. And you're also willing to embrace those growth moments, which you can call failures. But yeah, that's the short answer. Something that you mentioned, which I get kind of heated on, not heated, but like I have a fiery passion for this. And I've gotten in some debates over the last year with people because I'll also work with athletes and top performers in business on basically how they're doing. So their mental and emotional side. And sometimes people will be like, well, you don't have any certificates to do that. Here's the thing. Certificates are wonderful. And I think that there's a lot of things to learn in the pursuit of graduating from somewhere. I also think that it doesn't guarantee that someone's good at their job. Just because they paid some money and showed up to a class doesn't mean that they're good at it. And I always think about, like, there's freaking people who are good at cutting your hair and there's people who are bad. There's good dentists and bad dentists. And there's people who make good tacos and bad tacos. And, the doctor that missed my mom's cancer, whole mess of framed, great looking certificates on the wall. Didn't really do a damn. So my point is, there's people who care and there's people who don't care. And if you care about whatever goal you have, don't let some dumb piece of paper tell you that you can't do it.
Right? Exactly. I will attest to that. I think many times in my life, I've jumped out and did things that I had a lot of fear behind it. So with you, I feel like there had to be a point where you must have failed, or you probably had fear. And a lot of men listening probably have a lot of fear, or they probably failed a lot of times. So I guess it's a two-part question. One, when the fear presents itself, do you have a certain technique or tactic that you use to get past it? And then the second thing too is, let's start with that one first before we hit you too many.
Such a good question, man. And I think one of those, and that word fear is like something that I think people need to unpack because it means something different to each person, right? And whether that's like doubts or it's anxiety or it's stress or it's pressure, I kind of put fear as that bubble term for all of it. So whatever that hits for you of like how it shows up in your life, to anyone listening, because it's a shifty, fear is shifty and it shows up in different ways. But I oftentimes, and Kobe Bryant's got a lot of great stuff on this, talk with it, like reason with your fear, because fear is crazy. It's irrational. And it's often thinking of only the worst case scenario. And if you actually reason with it and you're like, all right, well, why am I, I'm putting on something right now, like I'm putting on my first event and I have fear around it. Why am I scared? Well, I'm scared that it might not be that good and I'll be putting myself out there and but when you put that fear up against why you're actually doing the damn thing to begin with, one, the fear is not that great of a case. It's usually just emotionally fueled. And it's not a very inspiring thing. When you go to like your life and what you want to do with it, you have a choice. We all have a choice of, do we want to choose to go with what fires us up and inspires us, even though it's a gamble, or indulge the fear that's just scared it's not going to work out.
I like that. So it's two-part things. It's figuring out, why you did it in the first place, and then talking through that fear and saying, okay, hey, look, this is probably irrational. And by the time you start reasoning with it, talking to it, you're going to be like, wait, what am I? Okay, never mind. I got this. Let me go do this, right?
Yes. And the one last thought on that is there's also usually things within so like my fear right now is, it might not be that good. Okay, well, there's action items in my control where I can make it that good. So if that's fear's biggest case, like if fear is, putting on its suit and coming in the courtroom and is like, it might not be that good. I have a lot of things in my control that can make it that good. So I think that's a really big point, is like distill down tangibly what fear is so scared of.
I like that. So second thing too, now failure. And failure is on the other side, right? This isn't just like a irrational. This is like an actual thing. It actually happened. I started this business. I failed. I tried out for the team. I failed. I tried to get this job. I failed. I went through a class and I failed. I went through that. I just went through a college class and failed at accounting. Just a horrible class. But I failed. So now getting back on the horse, how should we look at it and how should we navigate, that frame of failure?
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing about the class, because there are, like, in life, failing is growing and persistence and keeping going. But there are some moments, and I appreciate you sharing that, of like, oh, damn it, I got a tangible response of I failed in the class, or I lost the game, or failed at American Ninja Warrior, or that business went under. So there are some like very definitive moments where you're like, well, that kind of was a failure.
Yes.
But I think then it's, I think of that saying, lose the battle, win the war. And it's really a failure if you chalk it up and you stop. And if it's still something you want to do, if accounting is still matters in your greater business view and what you want, then it's just mustering up that strength to take it again.
Yeah.
and I don't, that moment, and I've had that moment in so many things where you're like, damn it, this sucks. I don't want to dig deep and refocus and recommit and have to build back and take this course, which I'm sure is a ton of hours. However, then I think you have to touch in with, okay, well, what do I really want? And if this is a piece in there, then I gotta recommit and keep going forward.
No, I love that. So at the end of the day, recommitting yourself to whatever goal it is that you wanted to attain. And then after that, even after that failure, saying, okay, is this really what I want going back? Okay, even though I failed, kind of like reflecting on it and then moving forward. I like how you put that. So Were you gonna say something? You gonna add something to it?
No, you nailed it. And hearing you're so good at summing up. I feel like I'm giving rambles and you're doing a killer job of being like, oh, okay, this is what he means. Yeah, because I think, and this has to do with fear. Again, fear is shifty, and fear will start to chirp up and be like, maybe we don't want to do accounting. Maybe we don't want to do American Ninja Warrior. Maybe we don't want to do that event or that business because like that was rough and it might be rough again. And that's why I think being bravely honest, that's something I say a lot to people, is to be bravely honest, which is like, that sucked and this might be tough, but damn it, I know that I really do want this. I really do. Because ultimately that, I believe, is what you're gonna have to pull upon when you got to study till 1 a.m. again, or when you got to do that test, or when tomorrow night have to drive an hour and a half to go train for Ninja. That, yep, I really want this, is the fuel.
So let me ask you this then. Can you think of a moment where you failed drastically, and could you take us through real quick the process of you moving through that?
Yeah, I don't know if I've had disappointing moments. The only thing, gosh, I don't know if I view anything as a failure. I mean, I underperformed in college lacrosse. And I feel like I finished the loop because I ended up playing in the world championships and I was the second highest scorer. And I feel like I was taking out some of my demons since I underperformed in college. But if I really look at why I did, it was because of a lack of self-belief and caring too much about the things that didn't matter. And so I've tried to like take those lessons in. And I guess why I don't see it as a failure is because it led me to then coaching, and I won US Lacrosse High School Coach of the Year because of those lessons of underperforming. And then that led me to other things. So I think my view on it is it's only a failure if you hang it up. Like, I'm never going to go out on a negative. So like if you, I think, hit that failure and then you hang it up, yeah, then I think it is a failure.
Got you. I love it. So always keep pushing, always keep striving. But if you do hang it up, then that is the failure. Now, I know our time is winding down, so I do want to ask, during this time of a pandemic and, with your skill sets of coaching, top performers all around and top business leaders, what are you giving them and what can you share with us to help us to cope with this pandemic and, sharing some inspiration from what you're doing to, stay inspired and keep pushing?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think acknowledging that it is a tougher time, but then also being like, okay, meaning like it is a tougher time. So some of those high highs may not be there. And maybe there are some lower lows, but then and this has taken me a while, true, to then accept like, okay, it is a tougher time. Now what? And to not fall into like, I don't want to say like a victim mentality or an entitled mentality, but a little bit. And to just, I think what it's done for me is just like, I was moving so fast and also loving it, like loving it. So like, I want all that stuff and the new version, whatever the new norm, all that, but like, hell yeah, I want to be back with people. Hell yeah, I want to be at sporting events. So like, I'm pumped for when it comes. However, in this time, I think it's just cause to like slow down a little bit and just really be where you are. So like there's a great mindfulness thing of be where your feet are and just kind of like drop into those moments. And the last thing I'll say is to find those outlets. So if there is something positive that you can kind of pour yourself into, whether that's spending more time with friends or family, however that looks, whether that's, yes, learning a positive skill or maybe trying a different thing in business, but just something positive to just pour that energy into.
Man, I love that. So one, being super mindful about where you are, just being the moment, feel it, touch it. And then second thing is really just understanding what your outlets are and where you can go to, recharge yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Last question before we go, Alex, for you is, what is the last words that you have for everybody that's listening right now? Last words, something that you want to leave everybody on.
I've like looked at this a lot of like, because sometimes people will be like, what do you speak on and all that? And I've like thought about that, but I really do think it's to really be honest with yourself, to really just bravely be honest with yourself of what you want, and to have faith in yourself that you can make that happen. Because I think there's a lot of unhappiness caused by someone else, or something happened, or our fears convinced us that we can't have whatever it is that we want to do. And in that, if we're able to do that for ourselves, then we can do it for other people too. So I would say that.
I love those last words. So, Alex, thank you so much for coming. And my brother listening to this, I want to tell you, until next time, your legacy starts today. Thank you, my friend, for tuning into today's episode. This means so much to us over here at the 1% Man community. Now, we want to extend a hand of gratitude to you. So I have a free gift for you. All you have to do is go to www.the1percentman.com/podcast gift. This is an exclusive gift for listeners that tune into our podcast. So go over there, get that free gift as well. And now I have two simple acts of you. One, hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment and a 5-star review, because that helps us to see what you love about the podcast, and that helps us to bolster up in the rankings so more people can find us and listen to this pertinent information that we have for men of today's age. Last but not least, I want you to go back and listen to this podcast. Find just one thing that you can implement in your life today so you can move forward. Remember, progress over perfection. And till next time, my friend, your legacy starts today.